Well, Charlotte Leslie, are you going to vote for it or are you going to oppose it?
There's been a consultation and it is difficult, isn't it? Because there's an obvious unfairness, and I'm sure people who have mobile caravans will look at static caravans and think about the unfairness.
What, do you think people in a caravan will say, oh, it's not fair that I have to pay and they don't?
It's always difficult when you raise any tax, but I think there is an issue to be looked at, and I hope the consultation response will look into the issues. I mean, if we're looking at what it's doing to our industry and the suddenness of it, that is something to be looked at. So I would urge the government to look at it
The truth
carefully.
is, isn't it, you've got a cabinet of millionaires. Static caravans aren't on David Cameron's radar, let alone George Osborne's.
No, I mean, that's not it at all. There are all sorts of anomalies in the tax system. And the difficulty for a government is the minute you start to tackle any of those weird anomalies, it becomes really, really difficult, because the people who have been having a good deal, obviously it hits them very hard. And I think there is a case to be made about whether this will actually save as much money as we think it will, what it will do to our region's industry.
45 million, isn't it, over 5 years or something? So
it's 170 million, but, you know, there is a point. What will it do to our industries?
You say it's 170 million?
I've seen a figure of 170 million.
I've seen a lot less than that. But Dan Norris, let's bring you in. Any sympathy with the government over this?
Well, look, government's got to be very imaginative, and this isn't a way that they can raise tax effectively, in my view. Look, if it's clearly a nonsense that somebody who lives, works in the city can buy a second home for, say, £240,000 and pay much less tax than somebody who buys a static caravan as a second home for just £13,000. That's clearly nonsensical, and that's not closing any gaps. That's just not thinking things through properly, frankly. Of course, there's challenges about raising tax, but you've got to use imagination, energy, and think through very, very carefully. Consultation, great, but you shouldn't put through very daft ideas at the beginning, and I bet you anything this doesn't go through.
Can we expect to see Ed Miliband pretending to take sort of caravan holidays, do you think, like, he's pretending to eat pasties and all that?
Well, I haven't seen Ed for a little while, so I can't answer for that. But look, what I think is it's a serious matter. I think caravans usually are associated with moving around. These are static things, so they're more like homes, and I think that's the best comparison, and therefore it is unfair.
Charlotte, can you see the sort of people who enjoy static caravans? They're great for families, a lot of retired people and all the rest of it. Can you see them thinking this is an attack on the working class? This is what people save for, they're modest, they enjoy them, and now they're being hammered.
Yeah, I mean, it is really difficult, and I'm sure no one's going to like the tax being raised on it. And I completely sympathise with people, and I do think it maybe need to be looked at again. I mean, the amount of money that's going to be raised needs to be looked at, but also the effect on our industry. If we need growth, if we need to be proud of British tourism and British industry, it does perhaps seem not that intuitive to clobber one of our industries.
Well, I agree with that, because I think there's thousands of jobs at stake here, and certainly people in the know say it's about 7,000 nationally, and Somerset does have a disproportionately high number of these static caravans, so it could make a big difference to our
Why isn't the government's
economy.
radar working? Why aren't its members and the Lib Dems and the Conservatives in parts of the country like Somerset who are affected ringing the alarm bells and saying, don't do this because it's not worth the trouble?
Well, I think if you're a government that's trying to raise money and it's difficult times and you've got to look at unfairnesses in the tax system,
but
there are difficult things that are going to have to happen.
You're giving millionaires a tax break.
Well, I mean, I think the difference between first homes that are proper static homes and static caravans is something that is a bit of an issue. And yeah, we should look at it. I mean, that's why the consultation is there.
But you're not going to commit about whether you're going to vote against it or...
Well, the issue is
I'm going to look and see what comes out of the consultation.
Ordinary people can usually only afford, as a second home, something like a static caravan. They can't usually afford a second proper home. And that's why it's unfair. And I do hope that you will put pressure on your government to do something about this, because I think it's wrong.
Are you?
Yeah, I will be making representations.
Okay, thank you.